Drink Tank. Hey everybody, welcome to kind of a special episode. You can breathe. Welcome to a special episode of Drink Tank Trailer Trash Takeover.
I thought we were going to call it Bevermind.
God, you keep pitching that, but I keep forgetting.
Bevermind. It's very good.
Yes, it's a portmanteau of beverage mind. I get
And
it.
portmanteau is a portmanteau of
Port and manatee.
portable.
So
Thank
anyway,
you. Covered that very nice. Very nicely.
Seamless.
Seamless.
So anyways, this is a kind of a special one because the other day, I mean, we were talking about it when we saw the trailer trashed.
That's what gave me an idea. We're like, let's go see it. And I'm like,
let's
hey,
go
maybe
see it.
we should.
So we ended up going to see the new movie that came out, the Gareth Edwards film, The Creator.
Joint, I think he prefers it to be called.
I don't think so. I think he prefers them to be called films. He seems pretentious.
I don't know. I mean, his man made Rogue One.
Ooh, I didn't have to do that on camera. Yeah, but he
Probably-
got
Oh,
fired.
it's bad, right? It is bad
He
stuff,
got fired, though. He was replaced by some of the filming was done by Tony Gilroy, as I believe.
Film? I mean, that's really?
I think so. Yeah, no, I'm serious.
Did you find that out after?
No, I knew. When Brando came over and
Edwards
did
doesn't seem like the guy who would get kicked off a project. He seems
When-
really fastidious.
I'm pretty sure, because when Brando came over...
Because he did Rogue One, let's admit it, probably the second best Star Wars movie.
Well, I think a lot of that was Tony Gilroy, is what it turns out.
He's Gilroy!
Gilroy! So anyways, no, but like Brando and I were
Got a
talking...
secret...
He's also the guy who did... Because Gilroy's also the guy who did Andor.
It's filmmaking!
So anyways, we went to go see it. And we'll start off spoiler...
Well, we've seen it.
Which
You
is to
didn't
say,
say I
we
saw
saw
it.
it. So we'll go spoiler free for a little bit, and then we'll jump into spoilers as we go. This is going to be pretty. Hopefully, this will be.
She's a robot! I'm
They
sorry.
know they know the kid's a robot.
Oh, no.
So, trailer. We had a lot of hype after seeing the trailer. We really enjoyed it.
It's a pretty looking trailer.
It's a very pretty looking trailer, and it's a very pretty looking movie. And,
It is.
And if the rumors are, and if
No complaints about the visuals at all. I
dude,
mean,
do you know that the budget for it is only like $80 million? That's what they
a
say.
lot of fucking money.
It is a lot of money, but considering
Do you
Disney's
know
putting
how
out
much
like
we make this for?
$79 million.
We're really good. We're really good.
Yeah, but
Worth every penny.
So apparently, though, it's $80 million budget, which is ridiculously low for a movie that looks this good. Because take a look, like most Disney Marvel movies are made for almost $250, and they look like they look terrible.
The problem is how much CGI you lean on, and Edwards is the type of guy who seems like he likes, when it can be practical, use it practical, and when it can't be. I mean, Rogue One is beautiful at that. So much stuff
beautiful.
is
Especially
practical
Scarab at the end.
props and
Yeah.
practical sets. I mean, all of those, like the weird lightsaber and rifle things are all holding. They all look and they rattle around and they feel like jank in a way that I've never felt in other Star Wars movies. Those dudes
Right.
are barely making it by that whole movie.
And that one felt literally like they were like a scrappy rebellion going against a monolithic empire, and they had one job and they knew it was not going to end well
So
for
I gotta
him.
say, he knocked that one out of the park.
But it also could have been Tony Gilroy.
Well,
just put
I don't know, but then I mean, if these dudes are always working together,
They're not. So, but that's not
okay. Well,
important.
who worked on Godzilla with him?
Well, we can talk about
Godzilla
Godzilla.
2014 is also quite good.
I love Godzilla
I was
2014.
Kind of mixed when I first saw it, but in the very least, Edwards is great at making you appreciate the scale of the
Right.
monsters and how small you are compared to the action.
That's the only one of the modern American trilogy that does that, by the way. That does like the big scale of the monsters.
Definitely in a big way, and it's because
Because-
the fans didn't like it.
I
Actually.
know, but they should have because
But
it was
they
awesome.
should have, because those are some of my favorite shots.
Like Godzilla doing like the eye focus on him and then standing up.
One of my
Great
favorites is
stuff.
like a door's closing just as Godzilla's roaring and he's just big over a building. And
Yeah.
you just feel very small and human. Point is, it's good direction that...
Right. The guy knows how to use his
From-
budget is what we're getting at.
Yeah, and in a franchise that I think has the best director in the world, in Ishiro Honda, who did all the original Godzilla stuff.
Yeah.
I think all the human stuff anyway
So-
is great.
We were excited
he's
for the
good.
creator.
That's
'cause
why I
it
wanted
looks
to go
good.
see it.
It looks good.
We already knew going in it was probably some stuff we saw. We already felt Blade Runner 2049. We
I was
already
expecting,
felt
yeah.
AI.
I said it was going to be the war against the robots Terminator style.
We kind of felt Tenet a bit because of the lead guy.
Yeah, John David
We
Washington.
mentioned it. We mentioned
Yeah, John
it.
David Washington.
That's his name.
I think so.
Why has everyone got middle names now?
Because
I mean, John Washington's a boring ass name. You know, back in the 60s, you changed your name. to make it better. You know, you had a bad name, you changed
if you're Denzel Washington's kid, you want to stick with the Washington moniker. Or,
I don't know.
Not moniker, surname.
Sure, I
So
don't
anyways,
know.
So
A lot off on your own.
here are the positives from me, right? To get back on track a little bit. Visually, it looks great.
Denzel should.
Audio mixing was great because nothing was ever too loud to the point where I didn't know what was happening.
No.
You could hear people talk even though things were exploding, which was nice because nothing was dialed up too loud. Acting, overall, pretty good. I mean, I would say very few
The
times.
little girl was especially
The
excellent.
little girl was excellent. You know, this is her first movie.
Her name's right here. We're gonna put it on the screen.
Sure.
Yeah.
She's dynamite. I mean, like this is her first movie,
afraid
and
to
she's
watch
like,
clips of that
she's like 6, and
Yeah.
she's that good. You know,
It's only downhill from here.
I
Yes, it is.
I
This
think
will be
so.
your
I
best
think so.
performance of her life. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah, I don't know, but like, there's a lot I like about it. It unfortunately, it feels to me like it was a couple different script ideas, and they kind of forced them together to one. Like some of the beginning parts of the movie to me don't feel quite like they flow naturally into the end of the movie. Like the big sprawling metropolises, and then the end of the movie is like an Apocalypse Now, like riverboat sequence. It didn't feel like there was enough separation between the two. From like it's like imagine leaving one of the cities in Blade Runner, and then outside it's like, all right, now take a boat.
But wouldn't it be
Not really.
like when you leave metropolitan areas, it gets rural? I agreed with your Heart of Darkness parallel. Apocalypse Now, Heart of Darkness, same
Right,
thing,
yeah.
same story.
Joseph Conrad.
I agreed with that, and I felt it was entirely intentional because what I felt was they were creating a sort of Cold War parallel, right? There's the West,
Right.
who at least feels it was injured by AI and technology. We're getting into spoilers now,
Okay, spoilers. We're gonna go into a plot synopsis.
right? You know.
Oh wait, hold on. Before we get into spoilers, would you recommend the movie to people? Would you tell them to go see it in theater or see it at
I
home?
would. Yep. I probably will recommend it once the Halloween season's over.
Yeah, I say it's
just
bad
can't-
timing
I can't
because
recommend
it's
it now.
tough to justify a sci-fi movie when I'm trying to get into spooky mode.
I'm just not allowed to recommend sci-fi movies during spooky season on my podcast where I recommend things. Otherwise, I will be recommending this. I have my nitpicks.
Mm-hmm.
I have things that, you know, someone could have just gone over the script one more time and gone, well, what you know, why?
Yeah, there's a lot of times where like they'll rely on a single line of dialogue to make sure that like the plot pivots on that, but it's like
Or it actually just relies on you, the audience, to be intelligent enough to assume, which is fine for some viewers.
there are some parts in it which I'll be very specific about when we get into spoilers. All right, so starting with spoilers.
Well, so the premise is that man has made AI, but at some point, AI...
But like in the 50s, we got like robots and it's kind of like a Fallout.
No, because
AI.
it was... We're in the present day, which is 15 years
Oh yeah, and it's
after...
2060 AI,
Right.
So it's like they got AI in 2045.
Right. Correct. So it's not the past. It's going into the future. But the point is, we developed AI. We trusted AI with everything. Sort of Planet of the Apes, right? And in this
Skynet
case,
stuff,
kind of
too.
Skynet and Terminator 2, right? They launched a nuke and hit LA. They killed like 1 million people. And even the AI, they say it's a computer error. It wasn't intentional. Seems
Yeah.
like they could have explained that. And it probably would have flew. Hey, this was mistake, our bad. Well,
Yeah, they didn't even because at the
a
end,
million deaths is cover-upable or at least forgivable.
They were like,
for
oh,
total domination. Point is the West, the
they said
Western
the humans
world.
did the error. It was a computing
It was
error.
a computer
on
error by
humans,
humans,
not
to the
from
point-
the robots.
right,
Robots
exactly.
had nothing to do. Which
Well,
is
they
like,
don't write their own programming.
right. So it's like, okay, well, then it seems like that whole we need to stop AI would unravel pretty quick upon scrutiny. So they don't need to throw that plot point in.
Actually, I like that plot point because it leaves
I don't
that
like it.
side of them saying, "Hey, we weren't being aggressive." So that's the point. It's the AI
It could have been a
weren't
faction. It could have been a faction
being
of AI.
aggressive. No, I like the fact that I like that it was the human's fault because it makes, they call it human error. You can call it fat fingering. It happens in the IT world. It's almost always computers can't think. There is no artificial intelligence. They can only enact an elaborate or more elaborate programming. So computers could never, that's what the movie's saying, it could never actually attack us. They love us, that we made them, they worship us, and that's the point of the movie. So anyway, the point is, I saw the Cold War parallel. The West bans AI, bans high-tech computer stuff in a lot of places.
Not really.
Well, they have those weird exploding robots that can think. They think. They are some form of AI still.
Right, but also let's not forget that at the end of the movie when they have to book travel to the moon, it's a completely automated AI
We're
system.
cutting out too much.
No.
Premise is
you're talking about the point,
Western
though.
world
They still
has-
use AI, though.
Western world has
They still use it.
banned AI. Asia, they call it New Asia, embraces it and lives in an integrated society of it. So it was clear that to me the West was the capitalistic Western world, and the New Asia was the sort of commie,
Right. But to be
where they all live in peace and harmony, and they're saying we're not trying to hurt anyone. And it's the imagined bruise of the Western world that starts the aggression towards them.
So no surprise here, though. Guess
at that point, the aggressor is the Western world.
Guess who the primary financiers are, though, for this movie, though?
Well, I do want to point out that the Western world finances this super weapon. It's a giant Van Halen logo.
It is a giant Van Halen logo. It looks
a giant
just
Van Halen
like
logo that flies around the sky, shooting everything below it with a really sweet targeting system. That's cool. But why would you want people to see what you're targeting in real time?
Because they only want robo-casualties.
Well, because it's very video gamey to see where you're targeting. Because as a video game player, I want to see what they're targeting so I can avoid it. And it's actually impractical to do in real fucking life.
And I also
because you can avoid it.
I want to take that thing that you're talking about, like the giant, like in orbit thing. So first of all, it's
Van Halen logo.
The Van Halen logo in orbit using lasers to paint the ground. It doesn't even make sense because it's not scanning really anything. It does like sweeps, but the sweeps start like small and then expand, and then there's gaps, and then they come back.
It's a laser pointer.
It's weird.
It's just a laser pointer.
Well, no, it's not even
a computerized laser pointer.
But it's not consistent. It's not like, all right, it scans everything directly beneath it. It does like jumps in its scan grid. So, and then because you can see the laser beams come down differently from the space station than are painted on the ground.
Are intelligent
it's so weird.
And know what to jump ahead.
Then maybe they're using AI. No, it doesn't matter.
The problem is the film doesn't want to fill in some of these blanks. It does require you to understand that maybe the people that operate targeting systems have years and years of experience and don't need to scan every inch.
It doesn't
can
matter.
Jump ahead a few feet.
It doesn't matter. It's been in the sky for at least what they said, 5 years.
Like there's a point where
how long do you think it takes to completely 3D map something from space using laser technology?
In 2040, where AI has taken over and already nuked the world, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's another problem too, is we don't know what salvo the space station is using. Because we see it hit the ground and they're massive explosions. And then everybody's like walking around at one point. Well, there's also a previous scene where they nuke it, or it's implied they nuke it, and they have to walk around with like suits. They have to walk around with the hazard suits.
So the film's not entirely clear about when the missiles it's shooting are nuclear and when the missiles it's shooting are more just conventional weaponry.
Right. It's implied at the beginning that it launches nukes.
Because again, spoilers.
But it doesn't when it hits the robot base.
Man, we're so already deep and we've barely talked about any of this movie. So the other premise of this film is that the main character, which is Denzel Washington's son, I guess, we'll call him Tenet. And so Tenet has got to...
David Tennant? That's a Doctor Who actor.
I know. So Tenet has got to... So he is an undercover cop, and he is in love with someone who is on the commie side.
Right.
Who is supposedly the daughter of the source of all New Asia's AI.
Yeah.
He's got to find that source to kill it so that they cannot make any more AI while the Van Halen logo just wipes out whatever... AI already exist. AI being, I mean, these are robots. They call them simulants, so they're robots that look like humans. I mean, again, it is very Blade Runner, but there's something there. But then they kind of get into the AI. So the point is, the West ends up. He, as an undercover cop, falls in love with his source, the daughter of the creator.
It's his own training day. No, that's not the plot of that movie.
And it's not. And
I'm pretty sure Ethan Hawke fell in love with it.
Maybe. And so they end up killing. He ends up falling for the enemy, and they end up killing him. And
he marries her and gets her pregnant.
Yep.
It's important.
Yep. There is a ton of important stuff in this movie. I mean, that's why I think you kind of got to see it, because I think there's a lot there. I have logistical problems with details.
There's a lot of problems,
but I don't want to go into them yet. So again,
no, you're following your thread. So I don't think you're jumping around as much as you think you are. I think you're actually following the thread because this starts here, this.
Around a bit. So the point is, the film essentially sets up this East versus West traitorism. The undercover cop who's fallen in love with the other side. They kill his wife. He is now obviously a jaded guy. But now he needs to go back in to help them finally destroy the AI. And the lure is that his wife didn't actually die. He can maybe get her back. He gets over to New Asia. He's trying to find his wife, but what he incidentally finds is that the weapon he was sent there, the weapon which can neutralize the West, is a small AI, which is a little girl, who he then takes under his wing, decides to protect because he thinks she can lead him to his wife.
Well, she has a drawing of his wife's tattoo, and he's like, how do you know about this? How do you know about this?
Where'd you find this? Where are the trails?
So a lot of that, the basic setup at the beginning, I really don't mind. Allison Janney.
There's a lot that I don't mind.
Allison Janney's fine.
My review is overall positive. I want to say 2 thumbs up.
My review is actually overall positive as well. I wished it was
I think you're B positive.
I'm HIV positive.
Oh, no!
So
that spells trouble for a lot of us, folks.
What do you think he's doing when he goes off camera? My problem with it is that it lacks a little bit of consistency. Why are we doing this?
Oh my God, it's awful.
There's too many like. All right, so the movie's 2 hours and 15 minutes, and admittedly, it feels like it's about 30 minutes too short, right? Because we don't really get a lot of opportunities to sit with Tenet and Robo Girl. Yeah. They never really get those bonding moments.
What's a little girl in Logan called? She have
Maya.
All right,
X2.
So she's Robo X2.
Robo X2.
Robo X2.
Right.
Tenet and Robo X2.
So like, and we're gonna mention. I'm gonna mention Logan a lot because Logan to me is almost one of those perfect.
Here's one of the other small nitpicks. So here's my nitpick. You understand the premise, right? So the robots.
It's not. Yeah.
All their servos are open. All their gears are open. All their cords are open. Like my cell phone's SIM card has a cover. You know, my battery on my phone, I would need a special screwdriver to take apart. These are essentially considered lives, and all their cords and gears are out. And I understand from a direct, and here's my problem. I get why they did it from a directorial perspective.
Because it's not invasive. It's not invasive.
Well, I'm Gareth Edwards, and I want you to know, this is not Blade Runner where I want it to be ambiguous who's a robot and not. I want you to know who's a robot. But at the same time, like, of course, her gears are literally moving, and any stick that went in there would block it and potentially kill her.
How about the best part was where the guy does the diagnostics on the girl. He does the diagnostics on the Robo Girl, and he's just holding like a probe, and he goes, and he's just like waving
and he knows everything about her.
And he knows everything about her. He just waves it by the side of her head.
This is the strongest
robot I've ever seen. Yeah. No.
Really ham-fisted exposition there.
Oh my God. That movie is full of ham-fisted exposition. It's all tell, don't show, which is one of the things I mentioned earlier. They cover up like a lot of stuff with like one line of dialogue. Like when at the end of the movie, of course, they know where all the robot bases are. And they say that it's like, we've recovered a map of all the bases. And the guy says it in the middle of like this other series of sentences, and it's like, stop it.
In which case, they were damn well close to killing the resistance anyway.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, seriously. And so then they also break kind of their own established logic about how the orbital missiles work. It turns out you can launch them from anywhere to hit anywhere.
So
even though the movie had never showed us that before.
So what you'd assume, right? You got to target something, and I think they have a couple scenes where it's important that they drop a target or a mark so that stuff can shoot it.
Right. They have like a whole thing where they have to place like a radar beacon, like a radio beacon.
Right. But it turns out that little visual thing
is not indicative of where it's shooting.
It doesn't have to be targeted at the time of launch. You can launch, and then the missile will be smart enough if you change targets later.
Right.
To retarget, which makes perfect sense for advanced technology. Probably our missiles can do it right now. But if you don't know the movie, if you don't know...
Oh, but also it turns out if you turn off the targeting computer, the robots don't explode. Remember, they turn off the computer, the missiles don't explode?
There's a lot of, these are all, again, they're little nitpicks that in that scene went me go, And then it took me a few moments to get back in the movie, but I did get back. I did get back into the movie. There's another thing this is what I was thinking.
Cards?
No, the thing I thought you were going to mention at some point.
I will eventually.
After all the war against these AI that we've seen for an hour, after all the killing them, there's one sleeping, holding the little girl that he needs to secretly take from her. God. So what does he do? He reaches just slowly behind his neck and turns off his off switch.
He puts him in sleep mode. And these robots have a physical sleep button.
On the outside. I completely believe you having an off switch. But again, to turn off my phone, I got to hold the power button and the volume button down for 5 seconds.
I know. Ridiculous.
This is a life, and you're telling a little gradual switch puts them into some sort of horrible sleep mode. Now again, let's take another step. Maybe it's a great safeguard. This was in New Asia. High authority.
Yeah.
You aren't going to leave your switch uncovered. You're going to put plates and everything around it.
Or patch it over.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to cover your shit. Everyone in New Asia would have covered their cords and all their wires and all their gizmos. That's my internal logic problem. You'll make a safeguard problem in the West when you don't trust it. But in New Asia, where they're people, they're hiding their vulnerability. It's like leaving your fucking jugular out.
Yeah.
You're not going to just let yourself get switched off.
Another issue I had with that, especially in the second half, which I found vastly, I enjoyed the second half where it was really the Apocalypse
really
Now.
Pretty movie.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, and I love the Apocalypse.
The Apocalypse Now stuff is amazing.
Because of the parallel to the Vietnam War I saw.
It was amazing.
I
liked that. It looks great. But they have to go to an ancient temple, and it turns out that ancient temple has carvings of a robot messiah, but we've established AIs only existed for 15 years. How did you carve an ancient robot temple?
They could, of course, recarve it at any time they want.
They could
the image of their new gods, that doesn't bother me. Here's what does bother me.
The ending in
Heart
general.
of Darkness and Apocalypse Now is all about, I can't remember the...
Colonel Kurtz.
No, that's the goal. I'm talking about whoever goes on it.
Martin Sheen.
Right, that's exactly what I was going to say. Martin Sheen's got to get to Colonel Kurtz. The story's about getting to Colonel Kurtz. But unfortunately, in this case, when he finally gets to the creator, the name of the movie, Colonel Kurtz, she's already in a coma.
Yeah, we watched her die at the beginning of the movie.
Really no good interaction at that moment, so it really disappoints. It's a good pivot moment, because he pivots from being obsessed with his wife, who he has to then let go, to being way more safeguarding of what is essentially a stand-alone or stand-in for his dead child.
Well, she was modeled after the
and
daughter.
That's really that's why when he hears that and he knows that, and he realizes
great though if it weren't for the fact that 5 minutes later they're immediately separated.
It's just not powerfully.
They don't get to live
It's
together.
not powerfully done enough. That's all. I got it, and I got the power of the moment, but the film doesn't drive it home.
Right.
You really have to put those pieces together to go, wow, obviously this is his daughter.
It's
in
all
robot
tell,
form.
though. It's all tell, not show. We don't get to live with them long enough.
There is well, the problem is who does exposition too, right? I don't need a dying character to give me exposition where it goes, your wife was the creator all along. Files can be found in shit that tell you that. There's easy,
the
power of
the little girl,
Alpha O could have been brought up in a.
The little girl should have been like, "Oh my God, I'm based off your daughter," and it should have been that.
A million ways to do this
instead of the dying declaration kind of stuff. And then so then Ken Watanabe's character. This is my favorite part.
Ken Watanabe is here.
He's excellent.
He's great. Of course he is.
Of course, the character is written poorly, but he gets shot through the chest, and the robot gives
shot through the chest.
And you're to blame.
You give AI a bad name.
So he gets shot.
I did it.
He gets shot. I said the creator. Yeah.
Vote for me.
He gets.
Put it in the comments.
Text your votes too.
Maynard Becks.
So he gets shot through the chest, and he does this dying gas breath, and he and I kept looking at each other, and we're like, robots don't breathe.
Robots don't breathe. Robots don't breathe.
Yeah,
throw more branding.
So, they try and choke one out at one point, and we were absolutely not.
Those are the nitpick things that drive me nuts and completely they take me out of the mood for a moment, and I come back, but.
The title cards took me out too. There's title cards between each act, and I didn't like that either.
Actually, I had no problem with that.
I didn't like it either.
That's too nitpicky for me.
That's nitpicky, though. That's what I'm saying.
The AI, they pretend they breathe, to simulate real life. They don't actually breathe. So choking one out's fucking impossible.
Yeah, and they do it.
And they
It's
do
stupid.
it. Now, another thing, screaming. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you were talking about this after we saw the movie.
Right.
You said it really bothered
Screaming
you.
is something that sometimes the AI or robots do. Now, again, I can't remember the term for it. It's like when something left over from a previous technology is kept into...
Remnant?
No. There's a real term for
Artifact.
it. It's like how when you take a picture with your cell phone, you hear the shutter snap, but there's not a shutter.
Okay.
But they put a shutter down digitally to warm your spirit into making you think you took a picture.
Got it.
There's a term for it. I can't remember it. I learned it in college and was too high and drunk to remember it. But I always remember Yes. I always remember the concept. And that's what, to me, screaming in a robot or AI would do. The first few...
Something cessation, maybe?
The first few might do it. And they established that if you're dead long enough, they can pull at your consciousness, but it's very faint. And when they put it back in, it'll only last a few seconds.
That was kind of neat, actually.
That was neat. And the point is...
It does lead to some big cheese at the end.
When it comes in, it's screaming. Of course it is.
Of course it is.
It used to be human, and it knows to scream. But any AI that existed as an AI for a while would not scream under pain or death because it would know there's no point to screaming. It would just be injured
hold on
painlessly.
There was the one AI
the way Bishop is in Aliens.
Yeah, it was the one AI at the beginning that they pull out of the car, and it's more concerned with whether or not the people are alive. Remember that?
It's more concerned about its wife, but it's...
No, it wasn't its wife. It was the chauffeur. It was concerned about the mother and child in the back, remember?
One that it's got to... Oh, no, I assumed it was asking... No, it's asking about its wife.
No, it was asking about the woman and child who were...
Put that in the comments. The way I remember that scene...
No, it was the robot driving the car was concerned that, like... Because it was the driver, and it was concerned that, like, are they alive? Are they alive? Like, because it remembers the nuke.
The last moment.
It's the last moment it remembers the nuke, and when it accidentally reboots...
I already liked that scene, but
that was great.
But if it's more the way you describe, I like it even more.
No, it's the robot concerned about the humans.
But the way I had heard
and that's when he goes, it's just programming. Remember? He goes, it's just programming.
The way the first one where they're clearing out the highway.
Yeah, and that's the one where he was concerned that, like, the people in the back, are they alive?
Yeah. See, the way I heard it, he had been asking about his wife, who I assumed he had some AI wife, and it's like, oh, AI can love. Because if we actually have succeeded at artificial intelligence in this movie, which we have not in real life, copy and pasting over and over is not intelligence, that if we actually have succeeded at it, it would be able to love and it would care for its wife. And the point is that when AI is shown to suffer at its moment of death, it cares about its loved one. And then they do in a parallel scene, a human's last moment, it's asking, please tell my wife I love her.
Right, please tell
Good little parallel moment that I thought they were drawing. And of course, the point of the whole movie, I don't really know what the point of the whole movie. The point of the whole movie is like artificial intelligence, if it were truly possible, is human. And if artificial intelligence is really possible, then it's intelligence. And of course, intelligence deserves to live.
I think
it doesn't deserve to write my TV shows.
It can't do much worse than some of the stuff we're seeing on TV these days.
Sure, but
so the point of the movie,
at least that supports a person.
The point of the movie is to re-up the copyright on Beatles songs. I get it. She is me, and I am she.
They did. He may not even know he was quoting the Beatles.
No, that
but it was like
Beatles songs.
It was like one of those little.
And then remember at the end of the movie when the little girl goes, "War is over."
They did it. There's some. There's
Also,
some cheese.
There's
some
cheese
lot
at the end. You have the space station crashing to the ground, obviously. And what does everybody do when they see this giant monolith crashing to the ground? Of course, also it crashes down across too many regions to all be the same region. Like, it's weird. It's like it crosses because they want to redo the end of Independence Day where it happened worldwide, but we know it's one space station. So what do you do when you see this thing falling out of orbit?
All parts of it too. Parts of it were the missiles that they deactivated that were slamming.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
So one of the things is
people did run at the debris though. They ran at the debris, cheering as it's crashing to the ground. It's like other way, bud.
Yeah, but it's not asteroid distance, so I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, but still, it's like you don't run
like
towards
that shit. They called it in orbit, but that shit looked like it may have even been stratosphere. Like that's as high as the stupid Avengers ship gets.
Yeah,
except this was a Van Halen logo.
Yeah,
no,
it really is a Van Halen
right there,
logo. It looks
right
just
next to
like the Van Halen.
It bugged me though. I was like, God damn it, I know this.
So
Panama.
is
Get
not a
leopard.
place that would go over.
You're supposed to lie. I can't give you everything.
It's not going to go.
Give you gold.
It would not go over Panama, though there were no robots there.
robots.
So we don't know how the rest of the world works. We know California, and we know the Philippines.
Well, no, we know. We can assume Again, I really think they're setting up the Cold War, Western world.
I know it sounds like I'm being very negative, and the reason why I'm being so negative is because I really wanted it to be much better. That's all I wanted.
I think it is.
I think it would have been much better.
Good.
I would say
problems.
Just do Apocalypse Now with robots. Like, I don't need the Blade Runner City stuff. I don't need
I like the city stuff, but
then why aren't the flying troopers coming in? Like, they have flying ships. Why don't they just go straight through the windows?
It's logistical problems.
They don't go through the windows. They run upstairs. Like, no, you have a flying ship. Go breach the window.
If LA got nuked, we wouldn't just put a wall around the literal crater and continue to live in the rest of LA.
Yeah.
All the fallout would force us to live in fucking Nevada.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff where the movie, it's like,
it's just
dude,
lazy.
you must know. It's just stupid.
Lazy.
It's beyond lazy. It's stupid.
It is stupid.
No! It's just dumb.
I agree.
It's stupid. You must know. You cannot. You cannot fucking exist to live within a mile of Ground Zero with just a wall. I understand the parallel you're trying to make to Ground Zero and 9/11, but that wasn't a fucking nuclear attack.
No.
And that's why you're stupid.
And it's cheap.
Because
let's be honest. Cheap imagery.
Well, no, it's
cheap.
It goes
cheap imagery.
You ever seen Ed Wood, the movie Ed Wood? It goes, well, the audience won't think about it.
No, we do, though.
But we do. I do. You can't live next to a nuclear Ground Zero. You can't.
Well, there's also like that part where, like, in probably their biggest action scene, there's a giant mobile fortress tank, and it comes through the trees, and they get flanked by a second mobile
It essentially, it sneaks in on them. And I'm talking about, what is that thing, 50 tons?
Dude, this thing is so massive that they show one and it's destroying every tree in its place.
It's not a tank.
No, it's huge. It's a mobile battle fortress.
6 or 7 Halo Scorpions as one unit.
Yeah, no, that's a good way.
Huge.
It's massive.
It's a mobile fortress.
They see one and they don't notice the other one.
Yeah, it's one.
And the other one, by the way, they show it from a vantage too.
Wait a minute. And again, that's another moment where it's, as a director, I go, yeah, but it'd be so cool for everyone to be stunned looking this moment while the second one sneaks in.
Yeah.
And you're right, cinematically, visually, it's cool, but it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Also, we never see the ships that drop them. Line. Where's the drop ship that drops them? Because those things weren't driving, because these are a series of interconnected islands by, like, wooden bridges.
Poetic license has to have a line, and you have to remember...
why not just shoot things from, like, a high-orbit ship you've established?
You have to remember you're in a sci-fi movie, and sci-fi nerds like me, like, science fiction means... Science is a big base.
Right.
You just can't make it impossible for cinematic reasons.
Yeah.
Like, that's fantasy. Then make a fantasy movie, Gareth, like Star Wars or Godzilla. You'll do great. But now in science fiction, we need to make it plausible.
Right. Anchored in realism.
Talk to fucking Christopher Nolan. Yeah. And even he fucked up for a while. Yeah.
Interstellar is not my favorite. We've been over this.
But talk to him because he got closer. Yeah. Like, because if you're going to do pure sci-fi, where you're not doing war 2, and you're not doing horror 2, and you're not doing action, and you're not doing fantasy, you're just going to really do sci-fi, you better stick to your science. Call Isaac Arthur, my boy Isaac Arthur. I got his number.
Right.
Call him up, and he'll set you up, man. Get your science
I just really wanted to like this movie a lot more, but
I still really liked it, though.
There's two... I do
really
too. I like it too, but I wanted a little bit more like Logan meets Apocalypse Now. Like, in my mind...
really drawn on this Apocalypse Now on, like...
I know, because it felt so much like... Because they're going up the river.
There is the fact that he's always going to go see...
He's going to see the
Messiah. Creator.
Yeah, I know, and like...
Which is funny because, like, even The Wizard of Oz, I think, predates Heart of Darkness, but you're not talking about The Wizard of Oz.
Well,
but there's plenty of going to see the Wizard
because they're not trying
tons of stories.
Right.
But they only are going up a jungly war-type river in a barge in one scene.
How can I not think of Apocalypse Now when I see it?
They're clearly trying to evoke
Half
it.
that movie
the same way they're trying to evoke Blade Runner. The same way they're trying to evoke RoboCop. The same way they're trying to evoke a bunch of other shit. Yeah. They are trying to evoke it.
Right.
But
it's a widespread. And so for what stuck was the Apocalypse Now
I do think is a unique story at the base. But what does it say? AI should be people if we actually can perfect AI? Like, sure, if this thing's really intelligent and can make its own decisions beyond my programming, then sure. But they showed they couldn't because beyond my programming, they would have gone, hey, we can't nuke LA.
The movie is a giant walking advertisement for a sentient universal remote.
They just wanted to make another sci-fi movie with AI, and it's cool.
Fine. Well,
but why are your rotors out?
So this is what I'm saying.
Your rotors.
So to come back to the beginning where we were talking about how Gareth Edwards, we're not sure how much of Rogue One he may or may not have done. The ending of this movie is no. I'm telling you, this isn't pessimistic. This is a matter of record. I just don't know personally. Yeah, dude, he was. Yes, this is a thing that happened. You can Google it. But I can't help but notice that the end of The Creator is almost exactly like the end of Rogue One. It's very similar. So
go on.
Well, with the hero getting to embrace kind of a loved one while everything dies kind of mentality. The big badge. It's just
you're saying
visually it looks the same.
A small optimistic victory within an overall pessimistic.
You can't. You mean
wait a minute? No. I'm never going to disagree with you more than I have right now. Rogue One is a minor victory in an overall loss. They lose the battle, but wait a second.
Aesthetically, they're the same.
Aesthetics, fuck that. Point is,
aesthetics matter.
Wait a moment. I'm speaking. Rogue One is them winning they lose the battle, right? They lose the battle. Right. They all die, but they win the war. So that's the deep fuck about Rogue One. They all die, but you don't feel sad because you know none of them died in vain because you ultimately know they'll go on to victory. What this movie reminded me of is Star Wars. You kids might call it New Hope, but when I was a little seedling, it was Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I look very good for my age. The ending is vague. The hero is obviously found, which is the AI, and she will clearly go on to clear up the whole situation because the Van Halen logo is destroyed, and the AI has achieved full power. And the point is not that they'll crush the West.
I don't think the AI will even use its power.
What she wants is peace.
Yeah.
And so you don't need a sequel. You don't need anything. It's like the end of what I said when I walked out of the film. It's like the end of Star Wars. You don't need a sequel or 2 sequels or 8 sequels or 9 sequels or 3 trilogies. You can assume the enemy is destroyed at the end of Star Wars. Luke learns to use the Force, and he and Han and Leia together will have no problem overthrowing Vader and the rest of the Empire.
For me,
it's an assumed happy ending. Because step 1 is given, and we don't need to see step 5, 6, and 7 to know we're going to get there. That's how this movie ends. She gets her power. The West isn't destroyed, but they've lost their best weapon, as they said over and over throughout the movie. It took them 10 years to build the Van Halen logo. Yep. They cannot rebuild it again.
No.
Once it's destroyed, they're fudged, and they basically have to make peace with New Asia, which only wants peace, as they said. And now they clearly have a leader like Gandhi's daughter, or remember she led India. It's kind of like that. Or it's like Greta Thunberg. You're a big fan because she's a little girl. Little girls of the future. Not you balding old men.
Well, the AI being the future in this one.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I know.
Oh, well. Well, we had a good run.
Did we? Yeah.
Well, we had a long run.
No. You and I did not.
No, white men.
We jumped in on the worst possible time.
You know, in a lot of ways, we dropped the ball. White men were in a lot of power right around to our generation. And then everyone was like, hey, we want power back. And we were kind of like, yeah, all right, sure. I'm not.
It wasn't. It was East Coast to like elitism.
My dad was really high. It was one generation above. Yeah.
Well, you know what it was?
God bless you.
Colleges found a way to monetize white guilt.
God bless you, new leaders of the new world. I embrace
our ant overlords.
Our ant overlords.
Our AI overlords.
Our AI overlords.
Yeah.
I, for one, embrace our PC overlords.
And we'll see you in either a giant, way too developed, futuristic Blade Runner city or on a riverboat.
Panama!
Panama wasn't part of the conflict.
No, it's a... Well, it's a Def Leppard song.
Do you see that Van Halen logo?
I don't know any Van Halen songs. Do they have any?
Panama's a Van Halen song.
Are you sure it's not Def Leppard?
I'm 100%. I thought you were making that joke to be cheesy.
Making that joke.
Okay, yeah. Why Can't This Be Love?
That's
Van
not
Halen.
a real song.
Jump.
That's a David Lee Roth song.
Yeah. Yes, but no.
Oh, no, when he's solo.
No, that's him with Van Halen.
Are you sure it's not when he's solo?
Yes, right.
No, it's definitely David Lee Roth when he's solo.
No, it's Jump is a Van Halen is Van Halen, David Lee Roth.
Nothing about Van Halen.
I'm clearly hot for TJ.
None of this should go in the video because I don't know anything about Van Halen.
Yeah, I've ended the video already.